All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to season 2 of Run It Back. We got something good for you today to start it off. As always, I'm your boy Prime, my partner Source. What's good, brother?
What up, though? Season 2 of Run It Back, man. We got to get the first season out to the people. Because if you missed it, you missed it for the most part. But we'll see if we can package it up and get them joints put out so the people can enjoy the movies that we already done. Like we done what? I think it was six joints.
Thanks, about 6 movies, I think.
Yeah.
And we got plenty more to come. And we're looking forward to we had some guests on some of the first ones during the first season. We're gonna have some special guests on with us during the second season. I can't wait. It's gonna be lit, bro.
Yeah, we got to shout them out real quick. So we had Kimberly Clark on for Love and Basketball.
And we're gonna see her again.
Yep. Yeah. And we had Daryl Love for Above the Rim.
Above the Rim.
And my cousin B-Man, No DJ, Brandon Mosley for Juice.
But you didn't know the ledge. Yep.
Yeah.
Dope, all dope movies. And the crazy thing is I've watched all 3 of those movies here probably within the last month. I watched them again.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I've seen any of them. I don't think I've seen any of the movies that we've done since we did them. But I did watch them like the day of or the day before we did the broadcast.
And we're not going to run them all down, but to give you a quick preview of movies to come, we will have, for sure, Training Day is coming. We got to do Training Day. That's a classic. We do have Goodfellas is coming. So we're going to definitely do Goodfellas. And we also have, for the old school heads, we're going to do Crush Groove. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping to have, it's 1 or 2 people I have in mind to come on with us to do those. So I'm pretty sure we can get at least one of them. And that's just a preview, but plenty more to come.
Yeah, we still got to get back to a league of our own, though.
No question. No question. I'm a huge fan. I mean, I'd say off the rip, huge fan of that movie. So that is A League of Our Own is going to get done.
Right.
So we got
pushing the baseball season, maybe.
Oh, no doubt. And we got plenty more. We got plenty more coming. So y'all rock with us, man. We appreciate it. If you're not part of the Sports Bar Podcast group, please join us on Facebook, the Sports Bar Podcast, the SBP. Sports is our thing, but hip hop, television, movies are always on the table, and plenty of other stuff. We drink plenty of beer. We play daily fantasy. We do it all. So, but yeah, so today, man, we got a treat, man. And we have a movie that was made back in 2010. It was co-written, directed, and also starred upon by one Ben Affleck, and that would be The Town, man. And I've been waiting to do this. You and I was talking about doing this movie back when we first started Running Back.
Yeah, I don't think either of us knew the other one would want to do it, though. At first, it's like, I like The Town. What? Me too, yeah. So, yeah, definitely here today, that joint. I just finished watching that joint again this morning, and man, I was like, bro, this joint. Some people, when we mentioned it earlier during the week, they was like, oh, that's a good movie. That movie is borderline great. It's borderline great to me.
Yeah, I don't think it got the acclaim that it should have gotten. That's the funny thing about this movie for me. It's a really, really, really good movie. I mean, in just about all aspects. But you don't hear people bring it up unless somebody else brings it up. Like some movies off top just be like, oh yeah, for sure, this movie, that movie. But then even when you hear people say that they like the movie, it's almost like you got to bring it up first. They'll never really put it out there. But it's a dope movie, man. And it follows basically the heist genre, I should say. Like, and watching this movie and doing a lot of research on it, I had no idea that like robbing banks and stick-ups was that big in Boston, man. I never in my life thought about it, but this movie was also based on a string of somewhat true events. That's what they tell us.
Right, and it was based on the book. I guess the book was based on the real life, right?
Yeah.
The book called Prince Among Thieves. I forgot who wrote it, but yeah. And I always consider Boston when I think of racism and baseball. Who knew? robberies should be on the list as well.
Yeah, racism, baseball, baked beans, like
Baked beans, bro. Why are you even playing with me right now? I used to be the Boston baked bean junkie. Couldn't go past you totem without getting some. Or
like you told them.
hop in, hop in was the joint too, but without getting some Boston baked beans for sure.
And it was crazy. Like I would never put Boston with robberies. I would even probably put. Do you remember the Boston Breakers?
Boston Breakers. No.
That's my point. Most people would not remember when the Boston Breakers were, but they were a short-lived squad, I believe, over in the USFL. Like so,
Oh yeah.
so I think of the Boston Breakers before I would think about Boston actually being a robbery spot. Like I just, but that just shows you how much in the dark, I had been.
That's fair.
And you think about, so you even dig further into that hole. So you've got some pretty good movies that all had ties to Boston. You had The Departed,
Mm-hmm.
pretty good movie. You had, what was the old joint? Boondock Saints. That had some Boston ties. That's anybody, if you like The Town, Boondock Saints is a movie you'd probably want to go back and watch. I don't like it as much as I like The Town, but it's actually not. It's got a cult follow. It's not a bad flick at all. And the other joint that was directed by Ben Affleck, it was like Gone Baby Gone.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
That joint. That joint was yeah. That joint was deep and very odd. It was very odd.
So we find out early, just from the wording that they have on the screen when it comes on, and there's a quote that says, "One blue-collar neighborhood has produced more bank robbers and armored car thieves than anywhere in the world, and that's Charlestown." Then we find out there was a quote that says, "Bank robbery became like a trade in Charlestown, passed down from father to son." And that was a quote from a federal agent. Then we ended off with, "I'm proud to be from Charlestown. It ruined my life, but I'm proud." Right? So that kind of takes us into the movie.
Indeed, indeed. It's funny because I don't think the characters, I don't think anybody in the movie, other than, anybody that's from Charlestown in the movie would rather be from somewhere else. I don't think they would rather be from another place than where they were from in that lot of their life, and they were good with it for real.
Yeah, you see that a lot. We've seen it in movies before. Probably too many to name, but there'll always be a character, and the town or the city is just terrible, or there's something about it. But by the same token, they want to stay there. Or they live by. It might have this, we might have the highest poverty rate. Might have to worry about getting jumped every time I go to the bus stop, whatever. But I'm not leaving.
Hey, bro, that's Richmond one. That's Richmond because you think of people who live in particular areas, and sometimes they really never have left their side of town. Like that's real. I actually hear people say that back in the day. I used to be like, "You've never left North Side, so you've been on North Side your whole life." Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, that's real.
Yeah, you ain't getting too many people leave Highland Park, man. Not long as the chicken box still around. But that's gonna happen. So we find out early in this movie though that we have the whole armored car situation going into the bank, and so off top, we meet Doug. We see Doug and his guys, as we'll meet the rest of the characters later. They have a very detailed plan how to execute a heist. Whereas down to, they know the driver of the armored truck, they know pretty much his history, where he be at. They know the whole detail of which newspaper he reads while the courier goes into the bank, and the fact that he keeps his head buried in that newspaper until the other guy comes back. And then the courier, they know his whole, biography. They know everything about him too. So very, very detailed on how they want to get this thing done. And we getting a little bit of action right off front,
man. Have you ever, I'm not asking you if you ever committed a crime or anything like that, but have you ever considered how you would be as a criminal? I have. Thorough.
Yeah, yeah.
Bruh, listen. The way they plan heist is the way I would plan whatever I was going to do. For real. Because anything that was serious, like if it was a serious something, I'm like, dog, I would be a superb criminal because I'm not leaving any stone unturned. Now I'm not gonna do it because I ain't trying to go to jail, bro. I ain't really that ain't me at all. But if I was gonna do it, it would be thorough. I already know. I already know.
Said we're gonna change our names. They gotta protect the innocent, man. So we won't leave that alone. You got me thinking. But anyway, yeah. So they get up in the bank, get everybody on the floor. Typical routine. And we see, furthermore, they really thought this out. They're professionals at this. They're doing everything from collecting cell phones, getting security tapes, putting it in the microwave. Like, they got this thing down to a science.
Leaving the die packs behind too.
Oh, no question. Leaving the bags behind with the paint, with the dye. That's dead on, dead on. So they know their stuff, man. And so after all the hustle and bustle, get to couple things go down. So we have there's a co-worker that's there, and there's one guy that gets a little antsy about whether or not folks been alerted, whatever. He gets hit in the head, catches a beat down by a character that we don't get to know very well, in this movie. And then we also have a young lady who I believe she was the bank manager,
Right.
forced to open the safe. And she's a little nervous trying to open the safe, whatever. And then there's one of the robbers is telling her, hurry up, this, that, and the third, open it. And then there's another guy that's using a little bit more reason, like, get her to calm down, breathe just a little bit, take your time, and let's get this thing open. Of course, we know who that character ends up being, right? So she opens the safe, and as you say, they get the loot, leave the die joints behind, and they decide to take her with.
Not they.
Well, he decide one of the bank robbers decides to take her with the basically just try to assure their safety and anything go left, the whole 9 yards. So they take her, blindfold her, and they speed off, and they basically get away.
So here's the thing. You got your mans. You got Doug, who is clearly the leader. He's the brains of the operation. He's the one who had a life outside of Charlestown. Who he had dreams, they didn't go through. He didn't see them through fully, but he knows there's a life outside of Charlestown. So he's the smartest one. He's the leader. He's also the least wanting to hurt someone in the process of doing what they're doing. On the other hand, you have Jim. Jim just got out of jail not too long ago. He was locked up for 9 years for killing a man. And he, from this moment, which is early in the movie, you see that he likes to push the envelope of whatever is going on. And that idea, permeates throughout the movie every time we see his character.
Yeah, man, he's like the live wire, and you always see in a lot of these movies that there's good and bad to having somebody like that in the crew.
Yeah.
It's like it almost feels like sometimes it's essential to have that person, but then you always look at like, this dude could do something crazy and bring all of us down. But he was a true live wire in the crew. And one of the key points during this whole, I ain't gonna say attempt because they got away with it, but the robbery was that it was noticed that he had actually a tattoo on the back of his neck of Irish, fighting Irish, on the back of his neck, which kind of plays key later on to the movie. So, but they do get away. Of course, they let her go. They get her down near the beach or whatever, near the water. Tell her to walk. They tell her to walk because she feels the water up under her feet or whatever. We found it out later, and then to take the blindfold off. So they left her. They didn't hurt her. We found out they got away with about, which would be equivalent to about $90,000. And I think he said a pop. So I guess he meant a piece, right? And minus whatever they had to give the florist. So we found the florist ends up being a key character in this movie as well. And so they meet up again, when they're talking about the money. And the one thing, the first thing I noticed, don't you, right?
What's that?
They're drinking Budweiser. I was gonna notice that.
Of course.
I don't know if I saw any other type of beer in this entire movie. If you go back and look, every scene when somebody's drinking, either drinking Budweiser or Bud Light.
So is that product placement, or is that they was really drinking Budweiser? I'm going with product placement. I don't know what they drink in Boston. Somebody from Boston, please let us know.
Did they have Sam Adams back then? Like, I don't know. What year did Sam Adams come out?
Sam Adams was definitely. Wait, I don't know what year this was actually.
The movie was made in 2010.
Yeah. I meant the actual.
Yeah.
So, but it feels like it had to be. Yeah, I mean, I've been drinking Sam Adams since 98. So
yes, I noticed that through the whole movie. It's at least 4 different scenes where you catching somebody with a brew, and it's Bud. So I don't know what hand, if Bud had any hand in making this movie or not. They kicked him in the mouth. I don't know, bro.
Yeah,
I don't know.
They got a check. Oh, they wrote a check.
So we also, right in this time period, we meet Blake Lively's character, Krista, which is Jimmy's sister, right? And I'm gonna be honest with you, the first thing I thought when I saw her, she has the worst attempt at a Boston accent ever. Like, I understand she was the one of the it girls at that time. I mean, she had a nice little run on a couple of, in a movie and a couple of show, but her attempt at a Boston accent, I can buy just about everybody else's accent in this movie. She is the one person that jump was just like horrible.
I didn't notice. The only thing I really thought about her is she is the worst. That's all I had.
Yeah, I mean, they could have put somebody else in her spot, but it is what it is. I mean, it doesn't
not Blake Lively, but the sister. So
right. So yeah, we see that, and then Ben Affleck's character, we keep Doug McCrae, and we catch up because during that meetup when they're talking at the bar, we find out that they had the young lady at the bank's ID, a driver's license, right?
Not they.
Well, Jimmy. Jim has her ID. So he's a little nervous about it, thinking about going over there and shaking some things up. And of course, Doug tells him like, you did 9 years and you're going to do this. They give you X amount of years just for, bothering her and coming within so many feet of her, whatever, just leave the whole situation alone. But he tells Jim to leave it alone, but he don't really leave it alone. Like, he goes out, watches her, scopes the whole situation at her address, watches her a little bit, and ends up following her to a laundromat. He goes to the laundromat and he's in there chilling, reading, and he's gets his coffee and he's watching her. And they finally speak to each other. When she asked him basically if he have any change for the dryer or whatever, and he said he couldn't help him. And every time she turns away, he kind of looks her way, trying to be, just the fact that she can't see him. And he looks at her, and all of a sudden she's having a moment. And the moment is basically because she sees blood on her shirt that she's about to wash. And that blood was from the co-worker who was beaten by Jim back at the bank height.
Yeah, the Doug taking the ID was Doug being the leader again, and knowing that he just saw Jim Kirk out and go overboard. So the fact that Jim had the ID, he was going to kill her. Like, that was a given. Even if no it was his mind to do it at first, and he was, I'm just going to watch. No, he was going to kill her. So Doug steps in, takes the ID, figures, no need to make the situation worse. I'll watch her, and that way nothing's going to happen because I'm not going to do anything.
And I do like her character, right? Claire is her name, actually, played by Rebecca Hall. I think she's a pretty good actress. I've seen her in a couple of movies. I think she did a very good job in this particular movie.
Yeah.
But we skip ahead to the FBI. We get to see these FBI agents, and they're back there at the bank situation, trying to figure out exactly what happened and how this all went down. And one of the things that they do, they get a guy in there. They're talking about a junction box.
Mm-hmm.
right? And they talk about the junction box and how it was used and aided in the whole robbery situation. So they bring in a guy who's a company called Vericom or whatever, just a regular worker, and they'll work on everything. And they asked him, how would somebody know how to work this box? Like, and the guy was just like, I don't know, they work for Vericom, I guess. So they gives the FBI a lead into like, wait a minute, okay, we need to go and check out somebody maybe that works or has worked for this company to try to get a lead. And that person that they came up with was
good old Dez.
good old Dez, good old Desmond, young guy, works there. And I think he was the only one that didn't have a criminal record, if I remember when they were running everything down. But the one thing, they were on their job because the one thing they noticed in this was the sick days. Anytime he would take a sick day would be the same days that the heists and the robberies would jump off.
Mm-hmm.
So that automatically led them to, we got to check this guy out and see what's, see who he's running with.
Yeah, I think that between what they were told about the Vericom box and then that detailed research is what pretty much made it that there was a case.
Mm-hmm.
It was something to pursue because, they end up setting up a task force later on, but there's no way they don't set up a task force, or there's no way they do set up a task force if they don't have that information already.
Yeah, and not to get too far ahead, the one thing we kind of forgot, though, when we were talking about the FBI agents, right? So when we talk about these guys are like, they're going to get down to the bottom of it. They're going to attempt to it. Smart aleck guys going to rough cats up. Because they had a scene where they actually run up in this guy's crib.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, it's a known street guy. I guess he's known for moving drugs and all types of street activity. And they run up on him to try to get some information, something he might know from off the street. So they obviously know that it wasn't him because he has his whereabouts and everything check out. But the guy tells them, like, basically, he said, I don't know, man. And I think he knew exactly who did it. But, I mean, these guys were known in the streets. But he said his info he gives them, and, everybody does trucks. You know what I'm saying? Everybody does trucks, but these guys basically made a beeline for the safe. So we already know how they organize, bro. Like they real organized in this joint. And we know who the mastermind and all that is.
Indeed. Well, actually, the mastermind is someone else, but yes, the mastermind of the crew is definitely Doug.
Yeah. So, all that was awesome, man. Like seeing how that whole thing was put together. You got as we find out later, you got the guy in the street who's actually really the brains of putting everything together. You got a driver. You got all types of people, and everybody has a job in this particular situation. So, and there's a time period too as well. Right in here is when Jimmy meets up with Doug again and asks them, have you've been following up on that situation? And of course, they're talking about Claire. And he was like, I just want to know, do we need to remove her from the equation? As you said earlier, he all for it. He all about, you know what I'm saying, making that thing happen.
You know what? Not every time, but at some point in the movie, I saw him, and all I could think of was a movie that we reviewed previously, Juice, and the movie that they were watching at Steele's crib. Didn't he say "Top of the World"?
That's white heat, man. That's my joint.
Top of the world, man.
Top of the world, man. Top of the world.
Yeah, that's Jimmy. It's Jimmy right there.
No doubt. So we see Doug again, and Doug and Claire out, and he's still really getting to know him. Really getting a sense that this ain't just about the fact he's trying to find out what she knows or keep tabs on her. He's actually really starting to like her a little bit. Like I'm trying to get at that, So, and he finds out during one of their conversations, he kind of slipped up because he said something about her and car about a Prius.
Yep.
And she says, "How do you know I got a Prius?" And then he was just like, he tries to cover it up a little bit, talking about, well, it looks like a girl like you from out of town. I forgot what they called him, but the townie or something like that. Toonie.
Toonie, yeah.
Toonie. That's a term for out of towners, I guess. And he said, I just guessed because you being a Toonie and all, that's the type of car Toonie would drive. And Comes to find out that her car got kind of jacked up and vandalized a little bit. And if you notice, this one, you know, everybody, you know, you really know a town, or you from a town, because people can tell you a little bit of information. And you're like, okay, I know where you were, but I got an idea who did it. And she was saying that, you know, threw bottles at her and the car got jacked up in the whole 9 yards. And he's like, you okay? And all this. So immediately after his conversation with her, he goes to see Jimmy. And we get to see, once again, how much Jimmy is about that life, because he goes and tells him, look, I need your help. I was, the thing is, no questions asked. Don't ask me nothing about it, whatever. I need your help. And just know we got to hurt some people.
And that is where the live wire comes at a benefit, because he's always down to do whatever needs to be done. So, you know, they have their negatives, but you always need one around just in case.
And the crazy thing is, the first thing he says was what? Whose car we taking? What car we taking? Like, that was it. I ain't asked no questions. You know, okay, what car we taking, right? And so they get out there and they go straight up to dude's crib, like he knew immediately who it was. Beat him down real good, threatened him, told him get out of town. But Jimmy, of course, ain't gonna let that go. Jimmy gonna hit him again, gonna put a bullet in him. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna shoot him.
And back to where we hate having these dudes around, because they always got to go too far, got to push it unnecessarily one level too far.
Yeah, so it's just that's just your guy. So you automatically know already at this point that probably something bad or something going crazy is going to end up happening somewhere down the line with Jimmy, right? So you know, all that goes down, and then he takes his mask off too. Like, you know, I know you. I know you see my face. Well, I seen yours too. You know, like, dude is like wild and off the chain.
Yeah, it's like he had a mission to go out in a blaze of glory at some point in time, and he was going to push it until that happened.
Yeah, yeah, and then that's when we really get to the part we jumped ahead a little bit, where the cops are, you know, getting a little bit of info on Dez, and which leads to them doing more and more into his people. And it's also jumped to a scene where we see Doug, you know, giving out, you know, getting even closer to Claire. And she asked about his mother and all that. And he says that basically his mother left, you know, when he was, you know, 6 years old. Asked him about his dad. And he said his dad had got to go move out to the suburbs or something like that. Finally moved out or whatever, without getting like super detailed about really what's going on with his dad. But we know that realistically, at least the mother thing is real, because we see it so pop up so many times in this movie. Mm-hmm. That realistically, he you know, in his mind, what he's been told, his mother just up and just left him. She, you know, just left him and the dad when he was like 6 years old.
6 years old. And yeah, the dad question was first. So he didn't answer that truthfully. Well, he did. He moved out of the area. He did. But the mom,
prison might have been in the suburbs or wherever he said. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, could be true. I take it as it was true. It just wasn't real. And then you get to the mom part, and somewhere in there, between those two discussions, those two comments, he decided to be vulnerable and tell her the truth. And that is when their relationship kind of changed.
So, and we see the FBI snapping photos at the little get together, little family type deal. You know, everybody out there drinking, eating, whatever, and they're out there doing their thing. And then we get the whole rundown. So we talked about. They showed Desmond, of course. We mentioned he's a young guy, like 22 years old, doesn't have a criminal record, right? The next person they go to is Albert McGlone, which they called him. What did I tell you? Was Gozy, whatever. Albert McGlone, he's notorious for stealing cars. So basically, Glonesy is what they called him. So he's notorious for stealing cars, and so okay, everybody's got a part. The third person they get to, of course, is Jimmy. And we talk about how much of a live wire he is, and you know that he's done in 9 years. Found his father died in prison. His mom, of course, had HIV. She passed away. And we also found out him going to jail those 9 years because he shot somebody. And they claim when they asked him why he shot the dude, he said, "I just didn't like him." I mean, that was his reasoning. You know, we thought at the time is why he shot that dude.
Right.
And then, of course, they said, well, pretty much they figured, well, There's definitely a mastermind behind it, so a strategist, and it's definitely none of these guys. So of course that's where Doug comes into play, and we find out as well during the course of all this that Doug's father used to work for the florist that was mentioned earlier when they were talking about splitting up that 90,000 that each of them got to give him his cut. So we get a whole lot of information right here. So.
Yeah, it was a good breakdown of every character and led you to understand why they were the way they were, especially when you hear like I said earlier, Doug had a dream and he had a skill. He was a hockey player, so he was good enough to make it out for a second. It just didn't last, or he blew the opportunity. However, it went down, and you back in the hood.
Yeah, and then we see Doug back out with Claire again. They're having lunch or whatever, and of course, this is where your boy Jimmy just pops up out of nowhere and sees Doug sitting there by himself because I guess Claire going to use the restroom or whatever. Yeah. And like, what are you doing here? So, no, I'm just having lunch or whatever. And he notices his two glasses there. Doug tries to tell him, no, I'm just me. Nobody else is here. He said, how'd you find me? He said, I saw your big truck. Your truck that you drive around out there, and I knew you were here. So Doug tries to get him out of the way before Claire comes back. Of course, that doesn't work. Claire comes back, and all of a sudden, Jimmy realizes that, wait a minute, like, what's going on here? What's going on here? And tries to keep it cool, though, as if he's just having a conversation. Oh, sit down, and getting to know her and kind of messing with Doug's head a little bit, too, to see where this whole thing is going and why they meeting up.
Mm-hmm. I take it as, do you think that Jimmy saw the truck, or do you think that Jimmy was following Doug or following her?
Every time I watch this movie, I try to make sense of that or try to pin that together, but there's nothing that really shows you. And I think they meant to do it that way. They want you to think about the fact that, has he been following, Doug, or realistically, did he really see his truck? Even though we do hear the reference to the truck several times in this movie as well. Right. But I think they want you to think about that.
Yeah, I'm with he was following Doug because he knew Doug wasn't going to kill her, right? He knew he wasn't going to kill her, so he wanted to see what was up, and he ended up following him, and then walks up when she walks away. Which, I mean, that whole scene, though, from her being gone from the table, him sitting there, Doug trying to get him to get up, him being like, now I'm going to eat this right here, or whatever was in front of him, her coming back out. Throughout that whole thing, I'm waiting for her to see his neck. And
that was close.
It was close, but he never actually turned all the way around in any scene that she would actually see him until he walks away. If she would have looked back, but anytime before that, she would have never seen it except for when he gets up and Doug puts his whole hand over top of the tattoo.
Make sure that she doesn't recognize it, that tattoo from when they pulled the bank heist. So yeah, that was close. That was definitely close on that part. So we skip ahead a little bit, and during the course of this, there's
and this is at the point where Jim has no idea that she's seen the tattoo.
Yep.
He never found out that she's seen the tattoo, but at that point he had no clue, definitely.
No doubt. And we skip ahead a little bit, and so they're about to go in and do this and pull a heist, another job. But this is a job that we saw early in the movie that Jimmy had mentioned to Doug a couple of times, and Doug kept telling him either he didn't feel right about it right now or the plan is not ready. But Jimmy is just itching to do it. And I'm saying to myself, like, is it just because it's in him to be this type of person? Like, dog, y'all just got 90 a pop and minus whatever y'all gave due, but I'm still sure that everything is good in the pockets where it should be. You already ready to pull another heist. So it's just got to be that high of pulling the heist, I guess.
It's that top of the world mom mentality, bro. He ready to go. And it was either I'm going to die out here in a hail of gunfire.
Yeah.
I'm going back to jail. Because he said he was never leaving. He was never leaving. Even at the end, he still wasn't leaving.
Yep. And but this, so they end up doing it though. So the heist, and it ends up being the notorious heist, I say, because it's the picture that we see a lot of the times on a lot of the DVD covers or on a lot of the uh, advertisements. And there's several different covers or photos for it, but the most famous one is the one when they're in those scary looking nun outfits, right?
Yeah.
So this is the heist that they go to pull, to try to pull this robbery. And I'm not gonna front. Not only was the robbery crazy, but this joint, of course, we had to have Jimmy pull out, on this one. He had to pull the trigger because they got in a situation what wasn't going quite right. But to me, this gave like that whole chase scene for me was pretty dope. Like the whole car joint. Dude could spin that. He was spinning that whip, man.
He was whipping that joint. And I do have one question for you, but first, I do want to ask you. Well, I'll just say that whole scene rivals the Heat street shootout for me. Like them joints was crazy intensity and the gunfire and all that. They're kind of like, to me, it's like the same level of like what's going to happen, because they could have easily got caught right there, or one person could have got caught.
Yes.
But my question for you, I don't know if you know, I didn't catch the voice, but who grabbed the other car and met up with them to switch cars? The second car switch.
The second one?
Actually, it was the first car switch because
they went from what was it? Was it a van to
the Cherokee, right?
It was a van. So they were in a van. They get out the van and then they go to, is it a Cherokee?
Yeah, the Cherokee.
And then to a regular car, right?
Yeah, the regular car, but that was different.
The last joint, right?
Police was at that joint.
Yeah.
But at the Cherokee, one of them drove up in the Cherokee, right?
Yep.
Who was it? It had to be Dez, I guess, because it wasn't Albert. And you still had had Jim shooting. So it couldn't have been him.
I would guess it would have had to been Dez, right?
Yes, it had to. I guess.
I guess it would have had to been Dez. But during that whole shootout chase, I mean, exciting. And I remember going to see this in the movies by myself.
Oh, yeah?
In Bowtie. I can't remember. I think my son and I were home. I think I tried to get him to go with me to the movies. And he wasn't feeling it that day. And I went. I remember sitting in the movie theater by myself. And it was during the day. It was the day that it came out. And it was during the day. And I saw matinee on a Friday. I mean, people at work. So I think it might have been 15 people in the whole theater. But I remember everybody on edge and tripping like, yo, during that whole shootout in the concert. And then came the scene at the end of that through all the shooting and the crashes and the clever driving and they switching cars when they ran up on a dead end. Well, ended up being a dead end because of some construction work being done. And there's one cop, his only job is really just to keep you from going forward because they're doing construction. Had nothing to do with the chase, anything like that. And they make eye contact and automatically all like, uh-oh. Now, granted, it's four of them in one cop, so I'm sure if they already been shooting everybody else. So I guess if they had to put it on. But the funny part was when they all stand there and made eye contact and they're looking at him, one of them, and I'm not quite sure if it was Doug, I was guessing it was Doug. Even though you couldn't really see their faces because they still had the nun faces on, kind of looked at them like, come on, man, like give us a break. That look was like, come on, home, like, and the cop sitting there in the car like, and he turned to hit his like, yo, I'm not even messing with this.
Yeah, he saw the writing on the wall. He was like, bruh, you can try to be a hero, or you can pretend that you did not see any of this happening. So let me go ahead and turn my head the other way.
Get on my Ray Charles real quick.
I ain't got nothing to do with this.
Yeah, like that was like the greatest thing to me because you could really, even behind the mask, you could kind of see like that look like, come on, man, just give us a break. You know what I'm saying? Which was great for the movie because my first thought was when I saw it, just like the rest of it, oh no, you about to get got too. You know, Jim about to put a few in you real quick, and you about to be out of here, player.
That's it. He probably turned like, yo, Jimmy about to kill this dude, man. Come on, bro.
So
That
after
that was funny. That was funny actually.
yeah, so after all this excitement, they going about their lives or whatever, and I think they knew to an extent that was a little bit was heat on them, even though nothing had really been proven, that they all will get brought in for questioning.
Yeah.
Right? Because the FBI was like, man, we might don't really have a case right now, but I'm gonna find a way to bring these guys in for questioning. We might get a slip up in here. Somebody gonna say something.
We're gonna build a case.
Yeah, we're gonna build a case on this thing. So they get them all in for question. They go pick them up at various spots. Doug is at his little construction gig or whatever it is that he was doing, and they bring them all in. And they ask him some tough questions, trying to scare him. And man, it was kind of funny, especially your boy Glonsey, when it was asking him to read Albert to read the paper. It was hilarious, man.
I would even said this.
Recite this back to me. No, come on, read. Don't be tough. Can't read this, And then, of course, we get to Doug, and they asking Doug all these questions. And we come to find out that one of the officers is a guy they knew from the neighborhood. He grew up with him, in the neighborhood, knew everybody, knows everything about him. But he ended up on the other side of the law, neighborhood guy. But he's playing hardball, too, with them. And they trying to get some information. But they don't have anything to pretty much, to hold them on. So all of them get to go. Yeah, that was crazy.
That was sweet. But you saw the FBI character whose name I do not even remember.
The main guy was Agent Frawley. It's like Agent Frawley.
I don't know, but he said the only reason you in here is so I can tell you that you're gonna spend the rest of your life,
yeah,
on balls, whatever the case may be, and the rest of what he said. Doug, like, bruh, you ain't even got nothing for real. I'll be out though. I'll holler at y'all later.
Like I said, I'm gonna need to get back to work. Man, so we skip ahead a little bit, and then we have Frawley gets, a little bit of inclination, and he's trying to say, you know what? I'm not letting this go. I'm gonna get to this. So I'm gonna call Claire. I'm gonna call her back. He calls Claire.
Yeah, because old boy found her information at some point in time. The other character that we were just talking about that grew up with them.
Yep. So he calls her back to speak with her, and come at the bank, and come to find out she had quit the bank. She was no longer working there. So he starts to get suspicious. Like, wait a minute, hold on. And so I'm gonna check this thing out. Meanwhile, Doug comes over to see her, gives her some jewelry, and talks to her. You can already know, yeah, this about to get crazy. He's forget all this. I'm watching her type stuff. I'm feeling her. Like, I'm feeling this woman, So he breaks off with a piece of jewelry, and she was just like, she's blown away a little bit, and she was like, I hope you didn't have to, give up your truck. She's not thinking of it like no rich guy or whatever. So the truck comes up again.
Right.
He's like, no, somebody took over the payments, and so we see them getting a whole lot, continue to get closer, really feel each other. And he starts talking about, certain things about what he wants to do. And he's like, I quit my job too. And, let him know that he's really, really into her. Agent Frawley ends up going to see her because the cop that grew up in that neighborhood, they had gotten some information on a burner phone of a conversation between Doug and Claire. Frawley's even more suspicious. So he goes over to the crib, and he notices the piece of jewelry that Doug had dropped off to Claire.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, he starts talking to her, intimidate her. And during this conversation, he gets real slick, like most of the cops. We watch these shows and can't stand the cop, right? Being buttholes. Pulls out some pictures. And she has pictures of the entire crew. And who was the last picture in that bunch?
The man, Doug McCrae.
Excuse me, Dougie Fresh. Yeah, it was Doug. And starts running down the rap sheets and the whole 9 yards. So now, early in the movie, when they question her, she's nervous because she didn't know what's going on. She don't know anything about this. And she's like, should I get a lawyer? And he was like, nah, you good. This, that, and the third. This time, he thinks that she really has something to do with it. Now, yeah, you better get a lawyer.
Yep. And it makes sense because they took, like you said, they took her with them from the robbery. She didn't get hurt. and now she dating dude. So one would surmise that she had something to do with it if they didn't know her.
So that whole thing was deep. So you know it's really, really about to get like real sticky. Around about this time period, there's another job on the table.
Mm.
The florist himself, the guy who's really pulling the strings, low level guy, I think, because realistically, every time he went to see him, he really only had like one guy for the muscle just sitting there.
I don't know, low level guy. I don't know, low level guy is gonna come up with this last heist. I feel like he was. I feel like he was a serious guy. I feel like he was like.
Well, I don't know if he was as big as a lot of people on the streets though. Like some people, I think he had his foot in the game. We found out earlier that he was running in multiple stuff, gambling, drugs. We found out there was some drugs involved through a conversation we'll hear a little bit later. Might have had one or two things going on with some of with the ladies in the street, but I don't. He was no super powerful guy because every time you went to visit him unless he just had that name. I mean, he wasn't Sopranos or nobody, but he only had that one piece of muscle sitting, and it was an older guy just sitting there in the floors.
But no, did anybody ever try him? They all knew where he was. It ain't like they couldn't find him.
He stayed in his place.
His place was running them peoples that was doing them robberies. That's how I feel.
Man, they could have been smoked him, man. They really could have walked up in the shop. You already know he gonna always be in the back, come out snipping some flowers. You walk in, old dude sitting right here at the front with the muscle. You already know. You could just walked up on, snuffed him out first. By the time old dude when he came to the back, you could have been waiting on him. So I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but just think about that. They didn't. Why wouldn't they? Because he was not necessarily the top of the line, but he was a line to the top of the line. So he
was keeping their pockets fat too, and there's a little bit of loyalty there, especially on Doug's part. Was supposed for a minute it was. So, it is what it is. So, but we get to the point where, we're at the point in the movie now. He's going back and to tell them like, look, I'm out. I'm not doing any more jobs. I'm trying to get my life together. I'm getting up out of here, which was crazy because, like we say, nobody really leaves. He talking about heading out, to Florida or whatever. I'm getting out. I'm out of here. The other guys can handle it. Just wanted to let you know. And the guy was like, "Nah, I'm not letting you out this." He says because they're not doing the job without you or whatever. And because he knew he was smart, like we talked about earlier. Doug is the brains. He's the brains and the sensible guy in that. I got a driver. I got a guy who just don't care. You know what I'm saying? And I got a young cat, that can not only help me with some of the technology stuff, but he just gonna roll with what the older guys say. So he knew it was like forming the Avengers or something to him. Like, everybody had their part.
Yep. I'm not gonna hire them without you, and I'm not gonna hire you without them.
And he basically tells him too, I'm not letting you out of this. And then he goes into the story and we find out that not only what he had done to Doug's father, who had worked for him for so many years, we come to find out that Doug's mother was really dead because he gave her a little something, I guess, with some drugs or bad drugs, whatever. She got strung out or whatever, and she died. So all these years, Doug doing jobs for this guy and knowing his father's done jobs for this guy, never realized this is the same guy that essentially killed his mother.
Exactly. That was cold. That was cold-blooded, boy. Cold-blooded. I mean, Doug.
He had to do that man like that, man.
Doug had already said, he was out. He didn't care what they said. And y'all gonna do something. He gave him the address. And oh boy.
That's some black people stuff right there. Like, yeah, that's where I live. And you come around there if you want to. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, not too long after that, Doug had a reef on his door, on his gate.
Yeah, and he had that reef, and he looked over, and of course, the muscle from the florist shop was the dude that put it there, and they're gonna look at him driving off.
Yep.
Like,
yeah. He was driving and looking back, yo.
That was some old Sopranos type stuff right there. That's like, I was like I've seen this before. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that was gangster though. Yeah,
so And he did that because he let him know as well during the case. Also, I heard you got this hot new girlfriend, and they know all about her. So all of a sudden, Doug feeling like, you know what, I'm gonna have to do this job now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to do this job to protect her. And this one we really, really know. Like if there was any other question, we were getting to that point anyway when he brought her that jewelry. But this is when you truly, truly know. Nah, bro, this ain't just about her, you know, giving up too much information and to the cops or the FBI, and they found it's them. He is digging her. It's no question now. We were pretty much there with the jury, but that's the fact that I'm gonna go back in just because not only Reaper, they talking about doing her some harm. Nah. So he goes back up to the floors. All right, I'm in. I'm gonna do the job.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm in there.
Yep. He was kind of left with no other choice but to do it based on what he wanted to get out of life or out of the whole deal. He had no choice but to do it. That's the only way he was gonna be able to get out anyway.
So what's crazy in this whole scenario is that they go in to talk about doing the job. So he tells them, Flores tells them, like, what 3.5 million? $3.5 million they can pull off of this. So we find out, they're gonna go up to the Boston Red Sox in Fenway, they're gonna rob the cash tape from the ticket sales, the concession stand, all that. $3.5 million. And they had it mapped out to the point where, it's right at the end of a 4-game stand with the Yankees and all that. But if you notice, Doug being who he is, he's gonna still go scope the situation and finalize everything. Because you notice when him and Jimmy went to the game to look at everything, they weren't playing the Yankees. So we hadn't even got to the Yankees. They were playing Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's a good eye there, Prime. I didn't even pay attention to who they were playing at the time when they went scope to join out, but that's a good eye.
Yeah, so we get up to the point later after this, everything is in place. He goes to see, so Doug goes to see Claire. He knows something is wrong. He goes to see her. She's already upset now and distraught because now she finds out what really happened because of when Frawley brought those pictures over there. She's telling them to get out. He wants to talk to her, and she's not trying to, she ain't trying to talk to him. She's distraught and scared,
She ain't trying to hear it. All she's thinking is, this dude robbed my bank, took me, made me think I was getting ready to get killed, put me out the car, told me to walk. I don't know where I'm walking. So you're torturing me, you're terrorizing me. Then you come back and smash, basically. So you added that on top of all the other things you did to me. So basically, you just decided to destroy my life. From what I can see, you just decided to destroy my life, and this is what you do.
And the whole thing is crazy. And we did leave out the fact that when he talked to the florist involving her, he basically said, if anything happens to her or whatever, I'm gonna come and kill both of y'all. I'm killing you. See, but this is what I'm saying though.
Your shot.
Just like he could have done that then. Anybody could have, So I don't know. But yeah, he basically told, I'm killing both of y'all. It's going down.
That tells you how serious it was. He said, I am going to kill y'all if something happened to her. He said before.
Yeah, so something that they got to me, which was in this movie, right? Which was, of course it was made for the movie. So we skip ahead a little bit. So you remember, so everything is set. Doug is at the, doing this thing. He's at the hotel early. He got a hotel room directly across the street from Fenway, directly across the street.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Krista, Blake Lively's character, shows up, right? She shows up, and this is after a conversation, one of her first conversations that she had with Agent Frawley, who had ran up on her at the spot, basically saying he know everything that goes on at her place of work and how things go down, and also reminding her that she has a little girl she to think about. And then throws out the little gem that, because he figures that something is going on between the two of them, that Doug had given the other girl some jewelry, just messing with her head all types of ways. So she shows up at Doug's hotel room. This is the thing that teed me off, though. I know the answer, But how did she know where he was?
Her brother.
So this is my man's, got my back, trigger happy. You live in the house, that's your sister. So you know what she into and she strung out the whole 9 yards. Why are you giving her all that information?
Well, it's his sister.
She knows what she knows what they do.
Yeah, of
But
course.
why would you give somebody specifics about blah blah when they're not part of the operation? Only thing she's a recipient of is she family. We're gonna get the money. I'm gonna break you off a little bit, and whatever we do, we're gonna keep things moving. And you do what you do.
I think Jim was mad. This was after they had the encounter at the fence.
Oh,
He smacked Jim with the gun when they get into the scuffle, and basically he tells him he's not leaving.
yeah.
He told him to kill him if he tried to leave. And then they had the scuffle. Nothing happened. You know, they talk whatever. And Doug says, "You're going to shoot me in my back because I'm, you know, if you're going to shoot me, you have to shoot me in my back and I'm going to get up and walk away." So after that point, for me, I'm thinking after that point, he's mad, goes back to the house. He's still heated and he tells his sister whatever. And then it comes to the point where she.
Yeah. And I did forget that part. So, and which was glad you brought it up, which was very important in this movie because as we kept reiterating the fact that, you know, Doug is talking about leaving. And your boy Jimmy's talking about pretty much is Boston forever, you know, regardless of what goes down. We find out too that the reason he shot that guy, the reason he shot somebody, was the fact he was protecting Doug. He found out that guy, you know, years ago, the guy was coming with, he said, with a 40 or 41 Glock, whatever, and was going to shoot Doug. And when he heard the news, he ran up on him himself.
Yeah.
And shot him. So he's like, family, we all I did for you. You're not leaving me. You're not leaving me. We brothers for life. We family. You come and stay with my family, whatever, when stuff went down with your family. Nah, you're not leaving me here by myself. And I'm never leaving. So that means you ain't going.
Yep. That's exactly right. It was like he was holding it over his head. Outside of the fact that he was already wild, he was holding that piece over his head too, trying to keep him, you know, feeling like he owed him and he had to stay.
Yeah, so during the whole hotel scene, of course, when we mentioned when Krista came to see him and like, what you doing here, whatever, he, you know, Doug puts, you gotta get out of here. You can get 30 years just for being here, you know, blah, blah, blah. Puts her out of the spot, out of the hotel, and her little girl, puts them out. Mm-hmm. So later when we find out they're still organizing and getting everything ready for their heist, we found out she ends up in the hospital, right? She's in the hospital, and I guess she called Agent Frawley, you know, over there. I guess that's how he got there and realized where she was.
Yeah, she got arrested. She got pulled over. And I'm guessing she said call this dude or call him. No, she said call him, and they called him, and he said he was coming to meet her. Then they took her to the hospital.
So by now we know the conversations. He throws more in the head about, we got your little girl, we got your daughter, could be taken away from you, you know, back police car right now, so on and so forth. You know, when you gonna wake up? You need to go ahead and just give us some, you know, some info. Now we don't hear her give it, but we already know because of where we end up seeing the cops at later, right?
They out there, John, chilling, like
yeah. So because they put the plan in place, They go, so we see them come out of the room, the hotel room, dressed like officers. They got the plan in place, and they head over to go start pulling the heist. Important piece of them going to pull the heist was, and I don't know why the very first time it didn't really hit me. I've seen this movie probably 7 or 8 times, but the first time it didn't hit me, but I caught it maybe the second time, is that so the guy that lets them in on the side door at Fenway, so they obviously they gonna break him off with some bread.
That's the guy that owed the money to Ferg.
Boom. Yes. Okay. Got you. Yeah. Got you.
Because he's a bad gambler. he's like,
yeah. And then because then he gets there, because later when he lets them in and they go down the side and he tells them there's that room down there. Y'all ain't never see me.
Y'all ain't see me. Yep.
Good observation. Thank you for that one. So they get in there, dressed like cops, you know, to do their thing. And, you know, this real strategy to this. When they get to the part, when they get down to the where the money is being counted, and your boy Doug is like, don't you call nobody, whatever. He names both of the guys in the count room, runs off their addresses. Both of the wives' names were Linda.
Both wives' names were Linda. Yep.
Like, and it just takes us back to the beginning of the movie when they were pulling that first heist, when they knew everything about the armored car guys. Very meticulous in everything that they did. So they get in, they get the money, they do their thing, right? And we had a couple of scenes where they get run up on by security, and everything is crazy. And they make it out. They make it all the way out to the parking deck or the parking area.
It looked good too, bro. It looked like it was home free for a second.
But being the movie, we knew it was gonna be too good to be true, right? So they get out there, they come out, and they're about to take the money over to the ambulance, right? Your boy Glones is out there. So that's how it was the plan. We're gonna move this money out of here through these paramedics. Everything gonna be lovely, and we don't have to worry about anything. But Doug, being the guy that he is, something just ain't. He's on that Keith Sweat. Something ain't right, bro. He's looking around.
Ain't right.
Where's everybody else down here? What's the game? Just where the work? Where's he? Just knows it's too quiet.
Bro, we just passed 100 and some people like a minute ago. Why is it so quiet down this joint? You explained it perfectly. Being the dude that is and the leader and the mastermind of this thing, he's like, this ain't right.
Yeah, and so they look over the little, you can see outside over the concrete. You see a ton of officers outside and a lot of confusion. They looking around and like, oh, snap. And that's what we were just talking about. It's when you know that Krista done told, not only on her ex-lover or dude that was like a brother of her, but they still have relations or whatever, but her real brother, like she's so messed up.
Yeah.
She didn't told exactly where they are. So that's my point. Come on, Jimmy.
Add to that. So I think she was so selfish that she would rather have them be locked up than leave her behind. Not her brother, because he wasn't going nowhere, but just Doug. Rather than him leave her, and she's still here with the drugs and the kid that she probably didn't want, that she would rather do that than just let him go.
Yeah, and everything gets crazy from there. Like she just blew up everything. Just blew up the whole spot. So we notice as they're getting situated and trying to finalize everything to get out of there, even though Doug knows something is wrong. Your boy Jimmy notices something off in the distance. And the only thing I can make out every time I see is like a little reflection of something. You see something moving, but it's off in the distance. And he lets off the shot off top.
Again, live wire. And live wires tend to act before they think. So as soon as he saw it, it's on.
And they show outside where the agents are and the cops was like oh, gunshots type, and everything breaks loose and they start scattering, trying to figure out what's going on. And then the shootout kind of breaks out, and then we start to see the troopers, whatever, who were kind of off in the distance at first, and we start seeing them come out. And my man Glonsey gets shot first. Yeah. And luckily, he still had a vest on at the time. But at first, it didn't look too good. He got shot. They determined it was, he got shot in the vest. Serious, but not too serious. And things, continue to pop off. But then the kid himself gets shot. And the boy Dez gets shot. And they got him.
Whatever it's called. I don't even know what it's called. And it caused them not to be able to hear, or I guess to see for the moment.
Yeah, I forgot what you call that. You know what I'm saying? But it kind of messed with that high pitched one that you can't hear.
Yeah, but Dez got up because of course he's not thinking. He's disoriented. So he's down, then he gets up, And one of them noticed, no, I think it was Jim, noticed that he was getting up. He was like, nope, too late.
Too late. Yeah. And they got him too. So as everything is still popping off, they come to the conclusion, I think it was boy Glonzy ends up being okay with just like, no, we need to switch.
Yeah.
We need to switch. And this is just after we had just found out that one of the guys Casino had alerted them that they were in paramedic gear. So Glonzy's like, y'all, we need to switch. So they getting ready to get set to switch up again, meaning they want to change clothes again and get back into police gear.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When they figure out doing everything that was popping off that they weren't going to still probably weren't going to get out. The boy Glonzy comes out and like, look, I'm gonna drive this ambulance out here, create this commotion. I'm just gonna go at it, whatever. And they look at each other like, you sure? He was just like, look, man, y'all, I'm good. And I forgot what the joke that he makes, right?
Well, he said, I can do the bed. I'll do the bed, and y'all get away.
Yeah, so Glonzy drives out, he busts through, he drives out. A bunch of fire, the officers are firing at him. And of course, your man Frawley and them start shooting the tires out. And, the ambulance, the paramedic vehicle crashes, the whole 9 yards. And everybody's paying attention to that. And cops and stuff start rushing into the building at the time. So by this time, of course, we know that Jim and Doug are already back dressed in police gear. So they try to blend in, with blend in with them. Mm-hmm. And blending in, it worked for a minute. It worked for like a hot minute. It worked. So we find out that one of the officers in the inside comes back and tells them, was like, look, the people that is telling me that they was upstaged by some police officers, which alerts them like, wait a minute, we need to be looking for some people in police gear. So when they're walking out, it looks like they're about to get away. Frawley notices Jim and starts following him. And we was like, and you pretty much knew then, I've been watching this movie for almost 2 hours. We knew something was going to happen with this kid. This is about to be it right here. Follows him up the street for a minute, calls for some people, let them know where they saw him walking up the avenue or whatever. Then he calls out for Jim to stop. Jim keeps on walking. Doug sees it, like, oh my goodness, kind of follows it on the other side of the street or whatever, in case if he gets his shot to help him to get up out of it, maybe, but he kept his distance. Yeah. He just ain't turned out that way because, your man's Jim being Jim, he knew he had to go for it then. So he tried to play it off, tried to pull out on the old boy. They started exchanging shots, and of course, he gets, at some point, he ended up getting hit.
Blaze of glory. And this is before the actual blaze of glory, but this man spun around, shot at the FBI agent. Police officers pull up. He's shooting at everybody, like no regard for human life, because it was civilians as well as police officers, and he was just letting off every direction.
Yeah. So, what you say?
And after he actually got shot, and he was down behind the pole for a moment, this was the part that got me. Were you gonna mention it?
When he found the soda on the ground, he gonna take a sip, like. And my thing is like, was he just taking a sip because he knew that was gonna be his last drink, or was he really thirsty? Like,
or both, for real. Golly, yeah, that was crazy. He had the bag and the drink on the ground. He's like, shoot, after all this shooting, I'm a little thirsty.
Yeah, so in result, so he goes out at this point knowing darn well, I'm gonna go ahead and say, I'm gonna go out. And he comes out like he's about to surrender with both guns, whatever, but he ends up getting killed.
Like Blizzard.
All right, so just went on out. So the crazy thing for me with this part, though, Doug is still off in the distance a little bit, and it kind of blended in with the cops because there's cops on the scene. But he smoothly knows, I got to get out of here now. So he smoothly gets into one of the police cars. And a buddy of mine, I remember watching, he said, man, it's convenient. He just gets in the police car. And I'm like, I remember telling my man Raj, I was like, man, you got to think about it. If you're a police officer and you're responding to something and you see your target, a lot of times the car is going to jump out the car. So it's probably not unusual for you to leave the car running or leave the keys in it because you're just going to jump out to try to respond to what's going on. So he just got lucky. He found a weapon. I don't know if it was still running or not. I guess it was still running. Or at least the keys was in it. He slid on into the whip and just nonchalantly drives off. Now, Agent Frawley kind of looks that direction, but he didn't see enough of him at the time and not really thinking because of probably the excitement, everything that just happened, that anything's wrong. And your man Doug moves, pulls on out.
He just shot somebody. He got other things. He just looking around like what's going on. Heard the car maybe, turn around. It's just a police car leaving and went back to whatever he was doing as far as dealing with Jim and his demise.
And then he pulled the gangster move. He pulls the gangster move. He drives straight to your man's the florist spot. Walks in, tells over, I keep forgetting his name. I just call him the muscle. Hey, let me tell you what happened. And just as he leaned forward to see what he had to tell him, your man Doug puts something in him, kills him, right? Then goes to the back to look for, your man's the florist himself. Of course, the florist probably heard the gunshots and everything that popped off because he already strapped. He come busting out of the bathroom. They shooting at each other. But Doug's got a vest on. Mm-hmm. They shooting at each other, and he kills the florist. Yeah, so that's pure gangster move.
And he didn't die before he clipped his nuts. As the florist told him he was going to do to Doug.
Indeed. So he got him. So the big payback to an extent. Doesn't bring anybody back, but So
you killed my mom, basically. Yeah.
It's going down. Yeah. So when he drives up, he goes back and he kills them. And then of course we get near the end. So he gets on the phone and he calls Claire. And he calls Claire at her apartment. And we quickly find out that he calls her, and the FBI knew a figure that at some point he was going to call her.
Of course.
Phones tapped, whatever, the whole 9 yards. But on the flip side, you already had the feeling that he knew that. He knew that was going to happen. So he calls to speak to her on the phone. They have a conversation, and they talk about she wants him to come over, but that's pretty much what the police are telling her. The whole 9 yards to try to get him in. He don't think that's a good idea at first. Then he kind of reverses course a little bit and said, no, like I want to see you, whatever, and meet me here. Just to throw the police off. And the whole time he's looking out of the window, he can see her looking out of the window and the police with her. Do you think when she did that, she went to the window on purpose, feeling that he probably could see her?
That's a good question. It also, watching it this morning, it clicked in my brain again, reminded me of Heat when Val Kilmer was pulling up to where his wife was at the window when the police were with her, and she gave the hand signal. She gave him the don't come in this joint because he saw her from the car in Heat. In this joint, I don't know. That's a great question, but him being able to see that, he saw that she was by herself when she said she wanted him to come over. Then an FBI agent kind of came into the view after that. So he's still like, man, she must have gave up on me. She's just gonna give me up to the FBI until.
Well, yeah, I think on your part, what I'm saying is I think about this at first, man. But so I think he did have that feeling at first, but just the fact that she walked to the window, right? Just the fact that she walked to the window, period. It's more what makes me think that, you know what? I'm wondering what she's thinking for sure, that there's a chance that he might be watching me now. And I know that they're going to try to hear everything that I say, that the FBI. If I can get one of them within window shot, if it's a possibility he's watching me, he'll know that somebody is here, right?
That's a good point. That's a great point.
Yeah, that's, and so that's where I am with that. So, but one of them things they want you to think. They're not going to give you the answer in this movie when they want you to think about this. Does she know, she doesn't know? And they're never going to answer that question. That's just for you to think about. Mm-hmm. So when he sets him up, and tells him he's going to meet you here, so on and so forth, so he throws the cops off. He goes, he's already, got his money situated the way he wants to.
Don't you skip the best part, you.
Which part am I missing?
when she says about sunny days.
Oh, the sunny days. Yeah.
Yeah,
Boom. Right. So yeah, when we know then that of course she doesn't want him to get caught now, whether that was her intent from the jump or during the course of the conversation.
exactly.
Yeah, you know what?
He wasn't sure at first
Yeah,
when she came to the window, but when she said that, it made him feel better.
yeah, it made him feel better. You know, one of those sunny days, which they had been discussing before. And I believe when they had their first conversation, was that when they were out in the garden, was it?
I think the sunny days
Or
was.
was that at the house, the
I thought
restaurant?
sunny days was at the house. I think it was at the house or at the restaurant. One or the other. I can't remember.
Yeah, but you wanted his sunny days, man. Like, you know,
It was it was at the restaurant because they were out in the sun. Uh,
boom.
I believe. I believe.
So so right then and there, she knows, yeah, you know, we're on the same page now. No matter how she felt at the beginning of this, or might have been the same way, we're on the same page regardless. So they throw the cops off. The cops go where they think he's going to be. Meanwhile, he's, you know, he's a man. You know, first of all, you gotta give him props. This man changes outfits like straight crazy in this movie. Like he's changing the paramedics and cops and they nuns. This one was he ended up being was a bus driver.
Bus driver.
A bus driver. Man, like give Affleck some credit. This dude was like a chameleon in this joint. He was just changing up on him like crazy. So when he's sorting out all the money, I'm gonna do this with it. I'm gonna take this with me. I'm gonna have this set over here, or whatever, the whole 9 yards. And he leaves out knowing that where he was still surrounded by police officers, FBI agents. Walks out, has to walk past the police officer a couple of times. There's a couple of officers, yo, you can't be here. They looking for him.
Mm-hmm.
He quickly says, "Oh, no problem. I was on my way to work." You know, walks right past them, goes in, gets past another officer, gets in the vehicle. He's gone, right? And he heads out to. He ends up at the bus station.
Right.
Ends up at the bus station, and this one got me. You know, this is one of them one. I think it's a one button joint. Like, how does that work? You know, he just pushed the button and the joint started. You got do they
Well,
need a key? It
I
was
feel
one
like
of the joints where you turn the key, then push the button, and they just leave the keys inside the joint. I don't know.
I feel like the key was in the joint. I feel like at a bus terminal like that, the key would be in there.
They're already in there, and the only thing you gotta do other than that still push the button and start going. I don't know.
We got to ask our neighborhood bus drivers about that one. I'm gonna find out. I know a Greyhound driver. I'm gonna find out.
Hey, look, anybody that's watching this, that ends up watching this, or whether you're in the Sports Bar podcast group or not, let us know something when we drop in comments. Is that how the whole bus thing worked? I don't know. I done rode the bus plenty of times back in the day. I
Right.
just don't know how the whole ignition and button thing worked. You know, I know about dropping some money and getting a transfer. That's about it. So yeah, so he does that and starts his whole move and his escape, and we get a flashback to Agent Fraley. And come to find out, Agent Fraley on the way to his car, and there's a note on his car for one thing, and the note is pretty much he had left a note on the car as he walked past on his way on his getaway that said pretty much "F you," and so Officer Fraley again knows he's been had. Like that's gotta be frustrating, bro. Like he's been that close to him and knowing he's been that close to Doug in this situation so many times and still just got.
Thought he had him, got outsmarted again. And that is after he has already realized that he's not coming because he was over there talking to Claire or near Claire outside. And he just kept saying, well, he said, sunny days.
Sunny day. He caught it.
Then it clicked in his brain. You know, we are a national operation. So they already knew about the sunny days thing and her brother who had died on a sunny day or however that as far as being affecting her. So that was dope actually. He was like, yeah, he's not coming.
And the funny thing about the whole deal was it's nothing else he could do because he knew just from even just that wording or whatever, there was nothing, you know, that could be held up in court or it was no need in trying to charge him just for that statement.
Right.
You know, her lawyer was there, you know, because we saw him when they decided to leave and pull off, like, let's just get out of here, put this out, whatever, we're going to clear the area. The lawyer walks out, looks at her, and says, basically, like, that was good. That was a good thing to happen. You know, best thing could have happened. Yep. I mean, they have nothing but you know, a few words. That's it. So you good to go. You know, everything is working out in our favor. I'll be in touch. I'm gone. You know, so they gave him little to nothing. And then we also see that you know, little time passes. You know, he's made his way. He's on the bus, transferred the bus, whatever. Made his way to you know, to the train station. He's gone the way he's gone. We see Claire at the end out in her little garden that she had, and she would help care for. And she ends up out there digging, and she ends up finding basically a bag so that was left for her by Doug. And there was a whole lot of money. A whole lot of money. Of course, money he had made probably just on that heist or over a certain time as well. And he had stored away. But there's also a note.
Yeah. The money came from the florist though.
From the floor. Okay. All right. So the money came from the floor, and he leaves her a note, and don't remember exactly everything that the note said, but also there was an orange in the bag, right? So we know that Florida is synonymous with oranges. People know. Right. So we know he's way of telling, I've gone pretty much the way I said I was going. You know what I'm saying? So we assume it's in Florida, sunny, oranges, the whole 9 yards, right? So she knows that he's okay, that he made it. And she smiles. And she smiled a couple of times in this time period, because we didn't mention, did you notice just before we got to this part, I forgot, that the little bit of itsy bitsy sense of satisfaction or relief when they found out that he wasn't coming. You had to kind of see her face. It's not overly like, it's just the look on her face. Mm-hmm. But when she finds this bag and that note later, it's an even bigger smile on her face a little bit. She's overjoyed that she's made it. And we find out what she did with the money. And, we knew on the side, it mentioned earlier, we didn't talk about it, but on the side, she works at a Boys and Girls Club. Right. And it's one of the, and it was in a pretty poor area. They didn't want to donate any money to it. So it was the Boys and Girls Club had a skating rink, an ice skating rink. Right. But it was so, they didn't have any money to get the ice and everything, to ice the floor and to make any renovations in there. So they really were just playing kickball inside it, inside the area. So she gets the money and not only uses it towards the youth center at the Boys and Girls Club, but she names, she names the renovation as a donation to Doug's mother, with Doug's mother's name on it.
And remember, that was where he grew up, because that was Boys and Girls Club in Charlestown, where he was on the wall. His picture was on the wall there. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was he was great back in the day, which he apparently was. He was a good player.
Neighborhood hero.
And a picture of him, but it was a picture of him that was in that joint, the joint where he had been and, grown up. And then she ended up working there, and this occurred. So full circle, I guess.
Yeah, and you briefly mentioned it, but we didn't really talk about the fact that, that he was apparently, like you say, a really good, hockey player, ice hockey player, had gotten drafted and made it to the pros, but just couldn't really crack it and can make it out of it because of his behavior. Yeah. Fighting teammates and stuff.
He said,
Boston guy, man.
He said he couldn't skate backwards and he was slow.
But then he said, no, I can hit anything with a hockey. Then he admitted, I was nice with, for real, I was nice with that hockey stick for real. Let's just put it out there. And then they show up another quick picture of him as well. He's off, which we assume is in Florida. A little breeze blowing, it's out there, beautiful scene, and looks like he's at peace. So he left.
Yeah, I always, when I see stuff like that, if I think that deeply about it, I'm like, they're at peace, but can you really be at peace? Because it's always that thought in the back of your mind that
they run up on you.
They're coming to get me one day. Might not be the day. I guess I'm going to enjoy this moment while I have it. But I feel like it's always that thing in the back of your mind when you have a lot of dirt and it could come back to get you later, but you're in a better place.
If I was him, if that was me and I was him, all that money that I done got from them heists, I know it's somebody down there that can help me change my identity a little bit.
I'm going to Cuba, somewhere
Yeah.
to go, somewhere outside of the United States.
Yeah, you can help me get this. I'm gonna need this new name. I'm gonna need this. I'm gonna need some documents. What it's gonna cost me? All right, let's do it. We done seen it in plenty of movies, but that's what I'm doing. If
Yeah,
I'm staying inside of the U.S., you know what I'm saying?
agree.
If that's what I'm gonna do, I'm changing my identity, bro. So you know how we get down. It's time to rate this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Time to rate this movie. So you and I are avid beer drinkers, and you know the scale we running with is a 5 beer scale. Out of 5 beers, how many brews you giving this movie?
Well, there's only one number I could come up with. It came to me at first, and even when I just thought about it again, it's the same number. Solid 4. It's a solid 4 for me. But I thought it was great. I mean, I thought it was a great movie. I can't give it a 5, obviously. Like five is saved for those joints, those joints. But 4 is definitely a respectable high number, and I got to go with the 4.
Yeah, I'm giving it 4 brews as well. I totally agree with you about how 5 is, it's definitely that number. Like, if you're talking 5 brews or music, like the source, you say 5 mics, it's
Yes.
got to be exceptional. To me, this was just really, really good. And as I mentioned earlier, the only part that I really could say that I didn't like or was a downer for me was, as I mentioned at the beginning, was Blake Lively's accent. Worst attempt at a Boston, or however you say it, accent ever, ever. I can buy all of theirs. Affleck, Jeremy Renner. I can buy all of those characters' accent. We know they don't really talk like that, right? They don't have that accent. Hers was horrible. Sounded more New Jersey. I mean, I don't know. It wasn't. It didn't sound like Boston. So that would probably be my one gripe if I have to pick anything out of it. But other than that, yeah, I give it a solid 4 beers, man.
That's fair. That's fair. Or it is. Affleck is actually from Boston, right? Him and Matt Damon.
I know Damon is he from Boston? Or is he from New Jersey? Well, it would
I,
make
I thought they
sense
were.
though.
I thought they were homeboys from back in the day. I could be wrong. I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, look it up for me. And I should know this. That's what the crazy part about it.
Wow. Oh yeah, he was born in California. His family moved to Massachusetts, living
Okay,
in Falmouth, and then settling in Cambridge.
good stuff. Good stuff. So shout out to Ben Affleck. Great work on this. For something that he had so much input in.
Yeah.
All right, so it's time to wrap it up. Hope you guys enjoyed it and continue to take this ride with us. We had to get this movie in. We've been talking about it for a minute. And you can stay tuned because we got some really good stuff, as we mentioned earlier, coming up here on Running It Back. I would guess we probably, in this time period, we're recording this one actually, what is the week before the Super Bowl,
Yes, sir.
right? So I'm pretty sure we'll be back right after the Super Bowl with something else. Of course, big game coming up, so it won't be a week from now. But we always want to say, Run It Back is one of our babies. But we are the Sports Bar Podcast, the SBP, on Facebook. You can find us there for all of your sports love, your needs, your hip hop needs, your movie, your TV. Oh, we do it all, and we're gonna bring you more. And I'm your boy Prime. You can catch me on Twitter and Instagram at Prime SBK.
And quick shout out to Virginia Tech for knocking off Virginia yesterday in men's basketball and knocking off number 2 NC State in women's basketball earlier this week.
Word up.
It's Smitty Source on Instagram and Twitter. I'm never on Twitter, so at Smitty Source on Instagram for real. And of course, you can holler at me on Facebook, especially in the Sports Bar Podcast group.
No doubt. We're gonna continue to run it back, y'all. Appreciate it. We out.
Yeah, yeah.